Yes, I do.
I do. I thought you were gonna say more words.
So you didn't tell him to. You're not supposed to kiss the bride yet.
Am I surprised with the decisions on wedding day? Not, if I'm honest, not really. Not really. I think I always knew what Izzy was going to say, that it was going to be a yes. The moment he turned down everybody else and went all in on Stacy. Stacy, I was on the fence, and well, she did what she felt was best for her, and you have to respect that. Milton and Lydia, I remember saying they, came out of left field, and I really loved them as a couple, and I'm surprised. Am I surprised with their decisions? Not really. Lydia seemed all in, and Milton, the moment he said to his sister, whether you and mom and dad sort of say I should do it or I shouldn't, that's going to be what's going to convince me in my you're never going to sort of stop me from doing what I want. I'm always going to do what's best. So I'm happy for them. Hey there, it's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love is Blind, Season 5, Episode 10. It's wedding day. Hey. So it's wedding day, and they start off with Izzy and Stacey. And I'm like, did they say no then? Why would they start with the two of them? That's a bit strange, but anyway. They only have 2 weddings, so hey, it is what it is. So you have Stacy meet up with her family, and they seem to really love Izzy. But then Stacy has the reservations about the finances and the fact that Izzy wasn't forthcoming about his, credit card debt and his bad credit score. And so I understand where she's coming from. This is something she spoke about, something she said she was worried about, that someone would only love her because he knows that they have the money and not because they love her as the person that she is. And then on the other side, you have Izzy with his friends talking about how he really loves Stacy, how he was worried about her, and how that's a sign that someone is truly in love when they put somebody else's feelings above their own. I think he was more nervous about the fact that she knew about his credit score because he brought it up. I think he was worried that she might turn him down just because he wasn't forthcoming with the truth about his finances. And so he drafted this letter that was meant to rhyme or whatever, I don't know. You have Stacy's mom have a chat with her and sort of saying to her, if you have red flags, then, don't do it. I think maybe the mother married someone who had red flags and ignored them, and then things didn't work out. So she wanted her daughter to make sure that she was genuinely in love with Izzy. I think she wanted her daughter to make sure that her feelings for Izzy were genuine, and also to make sure that there were no concerns, because if there were concerns, she wanted them addressed. I have a feeling her family were nervous about her marrying Izzy, especially after she brought up the credit card thingy. But I think they didn't want to show that they were not really feeling Izzy like that, because they were worried that if they showed that, then she would go against them and marry him just because they said no. That's the impression that I get. You have Izzy and his mom, and she's saying, you're my baby, I'll always be there for you, which is understandable. Every parent wants to be, well, almost every parent wants to be there for their child and support them through the good and the bad. So I understand where she's coming from. I don't know. Anyway, they then have Stacy's dad come in to have a conversation, I think, before he walks her down the aisle. And he wasn't wearing a proper suit, so I don't know what that was about. But anyway, they did look cute together, though. I really like that for her and her dad. So this is, strange. Anyway, so they both walk down the aisle. Obviously, I think Izzy was trying very hard to convince people that he was doing this for the right reasons. That's the impression that I get. The fact that he got up on the stage and was thanking everyone for coming. Okay, that's good. Was trying to make jokes to make it more relaxed. Even his mom could sense something was in the air, because Stacy's mom couldn't look at Izzy's mom. She kept avoiding Izzy's mom's glances. And so I think that's when he realized that something is a bit off. Her dad said, good luck. And then he said, well, make sound decisions. I think the whole of Stacey's family knew she was going to say no. I think she spoke to them about the credit score, and I think she spoke to them about the credit card, and they decided he was a gold digger, and they decided that Stacey was better off saying no on wedding day and lying that, well, is it a lie? I don't know. But the excuse was they needed time. And so for me, it's a bit, I really don't know. I think Izzy, here's my opinion of Izzy. I think, because I've always said the Stacey-Izzy relationship is very strange for me. And I personally think that Izzy went into the experiment looking for someone. And then when he got into the experiment, he had some emotional connections with a couple of people. He had an emotional connection with Jonay. He had an emotional connection with Lydia. But then he also had an emotional connection with Stacey. But on the upside, Stacey came from wealth. And this, I think, sounded good. I'm not calling him a gold digger. Don't get me wrong. Because the reason he broke up with Lydia and the reason he broke up with Jonay doesn't make sense. With Lydia, he said he had a stronger bond with somebody else. Okay, Lydia was all over the place in the pods from the edit that we saw, so I get that. Jonay then revealed the truth about herself and he ran because it was too heavy for him. And yet when things got rough with Stacey, he stood firm in himself and he said, I will fight, I'll never run away from problems. And so I feel like as much as he had a connection with Stacey, I feel maybe the money aspect of it, of not having to worry about finances, is something that was really very appealing to him. The fact that he said he had recently changed jobs but was able to take time off to come and do the experiment, I think he was looking for opportunities, and whatever opportunities there were, he was willing to put in the work. The fact that he went all out to try and get her flowers every Monday, the fact that, he really tried very hard to make her feel reassured that he was genuine and he wasn't in it just for the money. And so for him to say yes was a given. For her to say no, I think she was going to say yes had the finance stuff not come up. Or maybe she was still going to say no, though. I don't know, because she was always making these funny remarks that I didn't get. And so for them to stand up and declare their love to one another and then her say no, you could see Izzy's mom was heartbroken. Every mother would be heartbroken for their son. No one wants to see their child go through pain. So I get where she's coming from. And Stacey's family, there was some sort of relief. I think they liked Izzy, but they didn't like the circumstances of everything else that came with him. And I think had he been someone who was financially secure, had this fancy job, drove a fancy car, or lived in a fancy house, had he been someone like Uche, had he had a pedigree like Uche, I think they would have taken him. And they would have pushed for her to say yes. But because of his problems with his finances and the fact that his job thingy was not that secure, this is why they said no. And I like the fact that Izzy's mom said, I'm not going to say anything bitter. I only want to make sure you're okay. And I think Izzy in the end was fed up. That's why he said, I don't understand why you're 33 and single. The 40-something-year-old man with everything that you're going for don't want you. I'm 29 years old. And I'm here saying, I want you, I love you. And it's like, oh, I didn't know there was that big a gap between the two of them. I didn't know there was a 4-year gap between them. I just found out. So I don't know. Do I think it's the right decision for them to not get married? Yes, I do. Because their relationship always came off a bit off, as though something wasn't sort of genuine or something wasn't sort of being revealed that needed to be revealed. So I'm happy they both said no, and I wish them all the best. We'll see what happens at the reunion when we find out whether they decided to continue dating or whether they've moved on. Next up is Milton and Lydia. They are next up to get married. And so it was always going to be emotional. It was always going to be emotional because Milton's family have the concern, and they are justified in their concern that is Milton ready, because he's only 24 years old. But as I said before, Milton has displayed a lot more maturity than most of the grown men. Uche? And so I understand their concern when you look at his age according to the number. But when you look at his communication style, how he loves Lydia, how he's there to lift and support her, I think you'll understand that he is the best guy for her. So, you have Lydia telling her friends about, Milton and the struggles that they went through, because obviously he did vocalize, which I give him credit for, that he told her, I love you, but I don't like the way you behaved in the Uche scenario. Because the way she behaved, it sort of came across, some people might have seen it as though she's still interested in him when she's actually moved on. And so I understand him sort of telling her and giving her room when she felt she needed space to sort of compose herself and come back, and not being derogatory in how he spoke to her and how he expressed himself. So that's something I really loved about their relationship. And so the thing that I thought, though, was a bit strange was how he responded to his dad. I think he was worried his dad was coming to sort of try and talk him out of marrying Christine. And as he had told his sister, I am always going to do what I feel is best. And even if everybody says don't marry her, if that's what I want to do, that's what I'm going to do. So for his dad to come in with his, cufflinks that his wife bought for him and sort of give them to Milton and say, your mom is happy for you to sort of keep them if you want, as a sentiment, as something, that you wore at your wedding, which I really loved. And their vows were amazing. And the situation was emotional. I like how his sister went from being worried to being happy for him, because when he walked down the aisle, she sort of said, oh, he does look very handsome. And then as Lydia was saying her vows, you could see the change in her body language and her reaction in regards to, she realized that actually, yes, we were critical of this woman, that, he's a bit too old for my brother, this, that, and the other, but he really does seem to love her, and she really does seem to love him, and she really does seem to care about him. And for Milton to sort of explain why Lydia's the woman for him, irregardless of age, I think this is what reassured his family. His mom blew him a kiss. I think they are worried to an extent that she's 30 years old, but I don't think, as I said before, that anyone 24 years old would be sort of the ideal wife for Milton. I think he's way too mature for that age, and he would most probably settle down with someone who's 28, 30, or even older, as long as they're emotionally stable or emotionally mature, because people his age, I think, still have a lot of growing to do, and he is someone who's sort of managed to sort of gain a better understanding of himself sooner rather than later. So I love their vows, and I love the fact that they said yes. They sort of reminded me, they're not going to be on the Bliss and Zach level. Bliss and Zach level's wedding was very emotional, but their wedding was emotional as well. Seeing, Lydia's brothers crying, because I think one of them must have been, Milton's age, but I think seeing how Milton spoke about his sister and how he really showed that he cared for her, I think sort of calmed him down. And the fact that he went on to kiss her before being told to kiss her was just hilarious. I like the fact that he's willing to learn. So every time he did something wrong, he would always ask, oh, were we not supposed to do that? But was I supposed to wait for, because even his dad called him out and said, he hasn't told you to kiss her yet. And so it was cute. I really liked it. I really like how they find humor in most things, and how they seem to complement each other in the best ways. So I think he's going to be the best husband. I think the fact that he's mellow and is easygoing and is able to get his point across without screaming or shouting is going to serve them well as a couple. So I'm so happy for them, and I wish them, a happy marriage. So you then have Izzy is very upset. He's very angry, and you can see from the words that he said that he really put his all in. I think he really put his best foot forward, and he really tried his best to make sure that she felt comfortable enough to say yes on wedding day. And so the idea that she said no, I think, is really heartbreaking for him. But I don't know, what did he expect? She was always very sort of jokey. I don't get the impression that she was really, she's someone who's not very emotional. I want to say that about Stacey. She doesn't come across as someone who's very emotional, or someone who's going to sort of behave in any emotional way. So am I surprised that things turned out the way they did? No, I don't think she was all in. I think she liked the idea of Izzy, but I don't know whether she was fully ready to commit to him. And then you have, Stacey saying she had her concerns, and it's like, oh, just say the truth. There was more to this than you want us to all believe. But hey, It is what it is. If that's what makes you happy, do you. You have Uche. Uche is still not taking responsibility for his actions. Uche will still blame Lydia for whatever went wrong in his relationship. And it's like, I don't think Lydia is, the reason why you and Aaliyah failed. You and Aaliyah were never destined to be together. Aaliyah is not your type. You tried to do the right thing, but if you're going to be genuinely honest, you will say that Aaliyah was not it for you, and she's never been your type. You liked the idea of, dating a black woman. You liked the idea of being in a black love relationship, but I don't know whether he would have said yes on wedding day. If we're going to be truthfully honest, I don't think he would have said yes, because she's not his type. She's nothing at all similar to Lydia when you compare her to Lydia, who he dated in the real world. So I don't get what he really liked about her, regardless of Aaliyah saying, Lydia saying they were both the same. Aaliyah, I'm not saying Lydia was the best person, but I think the lack of accountability on both their parts, on both Aaliyah and Uche's side, is what gives me pause for concern. So I don't know whether they'll really work as a couple. I understand they dated for a bit and then they broke up because it didn't work out in the real world, but I don't think it was ever going to work. If we're going to be truthfully honest, it was never going to work. They were going to try, but it was never going to work because Uche showed himself the way he spoke to her about the cheating, and the producers had to show it. That, he called her, you're a recent cheater, yet he cheated on Lydia, and it's like, make it make sense. But anyway, I digress. So you then have Johnny and Chris talking about themselves and how they feel they went. Johnny and Chris were a relationship of convenience, in the sense that Chris only said yes, I think, to stay on the show. I don't know whether he really was all in. I think after the way that Johnny behaved and the fact that Izzy told him that Johnny had said he wasn't her type, I don't think he was really all in. I think he just went all in just for the sake of it, so that he could continue to be featured and, get a bit of publicity. But I might be wrong anyway. And then you have, JP and Taylor. JP sort of saying he's always struggled with girls and stuff, and it's like, make it make sense. Why then did you go into the experiment if you know that you struggled? Yes, you were able to talk to her in the pods, but you knew that there would be a face-to-face. What did you expect to happen during the face-to-face phase? Did you expect to just, drag her along and hope that she doesn't get put off when you start behaving oddly? Taylor sort of questioned whether she did the right thing by sort of opting out, or whether she should have stayed in longer. I don't think so. I think he disrespected her with his comments about her makeup, and she was ready to move on. He didn't seem like he had his crap in order. So, she tried her best. Didn't work out. That is what it is. And then, I don't know. I love the fact that Lydia and Milton acknowledge that they are of different age range, but their maturity and their wants and needs in a relationship align, and this is one of the reasons why they've decided to stay married. So I'm happy for that. They've decided to get married. I'm happy for them. His family seemed to be at peace with his decision to marry Lydia, so that's good. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. At the reunion. I'll try and review the reunion either tomorrow or the day after. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye everyone.